Ever feel like you're just spinning your wheels, Busy but not really getting anywhere?
Oh, yeah. I know that feeling.
Well, today we are diving deep into a book that might just have the answers.
Okay.
It's Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Oh, yeah. A classic.
This book has been praised by everyone, from business gurus
Mm-hmm.
to astronauts,
Wow.
and for good reason.
Yeah.
We're going to unpack those habits,
Okay.
see how they can help us all level up
Right.
in our personal and professional lives.
Sounds good.
Now, it's not just about quick fixes or hacks, though, right?
No, no. Covey's all about building a foundation
Yeah.
based on solid principles.
Mhm.
Things like integrity, fairness, and human dignity.
Right.
He calls this the character ethic.
Okay, so it's like he's saying that true effectiveness comes from who you are,
Yes.
not just what you do.
Exactly.
So how do we start building that character?
Well,
Where does habit 1 fit into all of this?
habit one is all about being proactive.
Okay.
Think of Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor who found the freedom to choose his response,
Wow.
even in the most horrific circumstances.
Yeah.
Covey uses this example
Okay.
to show that it's not about our circumstances.
Right.
It's about how we choose to respond to them.
That's pretty powerful.
It is.
So it's not about being positive all the time,
Not necessarily.
but about taking responsibility for our choices,
Yes.
even when things are tough.
Exactly. Proactive people focus their energy
Okay.
on what they can control,
Mm-hmm.
what Covey calls their circle of influence.
Okay.
Let's say you're constantly stressed about deadlines at work.
Oh, yeah.
A reactive approach would be to complain
Yeah.
and feel overwhelmed.
Right.
But a proactive approach
Yeah.
would be to look at what you can control.
Uh-huh.
Maybe it's better time management
Mm-hmm.
or communicating more effectively with your team.
I'm starting to see how this could apply to so many situations.
Absolutely. And it's not just about work.
Okay.
Covey even talks about applying this to parenting. Yeah. He realized that forcing his daughter to share her toys
Uh-huh.
was more about his ego than her growth.
Oh, the parent trap.
Right.
We've all been there.
A proactive approach would have been to guide her,
Okay.
to understand the value of sharing,
Mm-hmm.
allowing her to make her own choice.
Yeah.
It's about teaching kids to be responsible for their actions.
So it sounds like habit 1 is really about building that inner strength
Yes.
to make choices based on our values,
Exactly.
not just react to whatever life throws at us.
Precisely.
What about habit 2?
Okay.
Where does that come in?
Habit 2 is begin with the end in mind.
Okay.
Now, this might sound a little morbid,
Right.
but Covey actually asks you to imagine your own funeral.
Oh, that got my attention.
He wants you to think about the legacy you want to leave behind.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want people to remember you for?
Okay.
This helps you define your values and purpose,
Right.
which is like having a blueprint for your life.
So it's about being intentional and deciding what we want to build, rather than just letting life happen to us.
Exactly. It's like building a house.
Uh-huh.
You wouldn't start without a plan, right?
Of course that.
You'd end up with a chaotic mess instead of a functional home.
Yeah.
Same goes for life.
That makes total sense. We need that vision
You do.
to guide our choices and actions.
Right. And Covey also talks about the difference between leadership and management here.
Go ahead.
Leadership is defining what you want to accomplish,
Mhm.
that vision,
Right.
while management is about getting things done efficiently.
Okay.
You could be a great manager,
Yeah.
but be climbing the wrong ladder
Oh.
if you haven't figured out your overall goals.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I know a few people who might need to hear that.
It's about thinking about the big picture.
Okay.
And for Covey, that includes challenging our deeply ingrained paradigms.
Okay.
Those assumptions and beliefs that shape how we see the world.
So kind of like hitting the reset button on our thinking.
Exactly. He tells this amazing story about Anwar Sadat, the former president of Egypt. He went from hating Israel
Wow.
to creating a groundbreaking peace treaty.
That's
It's
incredible.
a paradigm shift.
So it's about being open to changing our perspectives
Yes.
and seeing things in a new light,
It is.
even if it means letting go of old beliefs.
Precisely. And that all starts with that first creation.
Okay.
The mental blueprint we have for our lives.
Okay, so we've got this blueprint. We're being proactive.
Right.
But how do we actually manage all the day-to-day stuff
What?
and still stay focused on those bigger goals?
Yeah.
That's where habit 3 comes in, right?
You got habit 3 is put first things first.
Okay.
This is where we bridge the gap between those big picture ideas, and actually managing our time and energy.
So it's about getting organized and prioritizing effectively.
Exactly. Covey introduces the time management matrix.
Oh.
You might have heard of it.
I have seen that around.
It divides our activities into 4 quadrants.
Okay.
Urgent and important.
Yeah.
Important and not urgent. Urgent,
Yeah,
not
that.
and not urgent and not important.
It seems like a lot of people struggle with that.
They do.
So which quadrant should we be focusing on?
Covey says quadrant 2.
Okay.
Important and not urgent
Right.
is the key to true effectiveness.
Interesting.
Think about it.
Okay.
Planning for the future, building relationships,
Right.
taking care of your health.
Yeah.
Those are all important,
They are.
but they rarely have a screaming deadline.
Right. Those are the things that often get pushed aside
They do.
when the urgent stuff pops up.
Exactly. But if you're always in crisis mode, always reacting to the urgent,
Right.
you'll burn out.
Yeah.
And never make progress on the things that truly matter.
So it's about taking a step back and saying no to some things.
Yeah.
So we can say yes to what's truly important in the long run.
Exactly. He tells a story about politely declining a good opportunity
Okay.
in favor of a best opportunity.
Interesting.
It's a reminder that we need to prioritize based on our values and long-term goals, not just what's right in front of us.
Okay, so these first 3 habits, be proactive, begin with the end in mind, and put first things first.
Right.
They all seem to focus on building that solid foundation within ourselves.
You're catching on quickly. Covey calls these the private victories.
Okay.
They're the personal mastery we need before we can truly succeed in our relationships with others.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You can't build a strong house on a shaky foundation.
Precisely. And that brings us to the next set of habits,
Right.
which are all about building effective relationships.
Okay.
Habits 4, 5, and 6. The habits of interdependence.
Okay, so now we're moving from the personal realm to how we connect with others.
Exactly.
This is where things get really interesting.
It does.
I'm ready to dive in.
Right.
Tell me about habit 4.
Habit 4 is all about think win-win.
So it's not about one person getting their way,
No.
but finding solutions that benefit everyone involved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Covey says this requires both courage and consideration.
Okay. You need the courage to stand up for your own needs.
Right.
But also the consideration to understand and value the needs of others.
I can see how that could be a tricky balance.
It can be.
Especially when you're dealing with people who are stuck in that win-lose mentality.
It definitely takes practice.
Yeah.
But Covey believes it's the only way to build truly strong and healthy relationships, both personally and professionally.
All right, so we're thinking win-win.
Yes.
But how do we actually make it happen?
That's a good question.
How do we communicate in a way that leads to those mutually beneficial outcomes?
That's where habit 5 comes in.
Okay.
Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Okay, this sounds crucial.
It is.
I think we all want to feel heard and understood.
We do.
But it seems like it's easier said than done.
Absolutely. Covey says most of us don't actually listen with the intent to understand.
Oh.
We're busy formulating our response while the other person is still talking.
Oh, I'm definitely guilty of that.
We all are.
But true understanding requires what Covey calls empathic listening.
Okay.
It's about putting aside our own filters and biases and really trying to see the world through the other person's eyes.
Okay.
It's not about agreeing.
Right.
It's about getting where they're coming from.
So it's like taking off our own glasses and trying on theirs for a bit.
Exactly. And it involves more than just hearing words.
Okay.
It's about tuning into their emotions and needs.
It sounds like it takes a lot of focus and effort to truly listen like that.
It does, but the payoff is huge.
Okay.
When people feel truly understood, it creates this amazing space for open and honest communication.
Right.
They're more likely to open up and share their true thoughts and feelings.
That makes so much sense. It's like building trust and connection.
It is.
Which lays the groundwork for finding those win-win solutions.
Exactly. And once you've created that foundation of understanding, you can start to tap into the power of habit 6.
All right, what's that?
Synergize.
Ooh, synergy. That sounds exciting.
It is.
What does Covey mean by that?
Synergy is about creating something greater than the sum of its parts.
Okay.
It's the magic that happens when diverse perspectives come together and you get this incredible burst of creativity and innovation.
So 1 + 1 = 3.
Got it. And it happens when people feel safe to be vulnerable, to share their ideas, and to challenge each other respectfully.
So it's not about everyone agreeing all the time.
No.
But about valuing those differences.
Yes.
And using them to spark new ideas and solutions.
Precisely. Covey uses the example of a couple planning a vacation. Yeah. The husband wants to go fishing, and the wife wants a relaxing beach getaway.
Oh, the classic vacation struggle.
Right.
Been there, done that.
How do they apply synergy to that?
Yeah? How do they...
Well, instead of getting stuck in a tug-of-war, they dig a little deeper.
Okay.
The husband realizes he really craves quality time with his sons.
Right.
And the wife wants relaxation and connection. By understanding those deeper needs, they're able to find a solution that works for everyone.
So maybe they rent a beach house near a great fishing spot.
Exactly.
The dad can fish while the family relaxes.
Right.
And they can all connect in the evenings.
Yeah.
Everyone's happy.
That's the beauty of synergy.
I like it.
It's about getting creative and finding those win-win-win solutions.
Okay, we've covered 6 habits now.
We have.
And I'm really seeing how they build on each other.
Yeah.
Creating this powerful framework for personal and interpersonal effectiveness.
It is powerful.
But something tells me there's one more piece to this puzzle.
There is.
What's habit 7 all about?
Habit 7 is sharpen the saw.
Okay.
This one is all about renewal.
All right.
Taking care of yourself so you can keep being effective in all areas of your life.
Okay, so it's not enough to just learn these habits.
Right.
We have to keep ourselves sharp and ready to use them.
Exactly.
What does that look like in practice?
Think of it this way. Imagine a lumberjack who's so busy sawing down trees that he doesn't take the time to sharpen his saw.
Okay.
Eventually, that saw is going to get dull and ineffective.
Right.
No matter how hard he works.
It's like running a car without ever changing the oil.
Exactly.
Eventually, it's going to break down.
Exactly. Covey says we need to sharpen the saw in 4 key dimensions.
Okay, what are they?
Physical, spiritual, mental, and social emotional.
So it's a holistic approach to self-care and renewal.
Precisely. It's about taking care of your body with exercise and healthy eating. Nurturing your spirit through meditation, nature, or whatever connects you to something bigger than yourself.
Okay.
Keeping your mind sharp by learning new things and challenging your thinking.
Right.
And investing in your relationships.
Wow, that's a lot to take in. It sounds important.
It is.
But also a bit overwhelming.
It can be.
How do we even find the time for all of that?
That's where the concept of the daily private victory comes in.
Okay.
But I think we need to save that for part 2 of our deep dive.
All right. I guess we'll have to leave our listeners hanging for a bit.
We will.
But seriously, this has been an amazing deep dive so far.
It has.
We've covered so much ground.
We have.
And I'm already feeling inspired to start applying some of these habits in my own life.
That's what it's all about. Remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So until next time, keep those saws sharp, folks.
Keep them sharp. It's fascinating how Covey takes these complex concepts and, makes them so relatable and actionable.
Yeah.
He gives us this practical roadmap, for personal and interpersonal effectiveness.
I know, right? It's not just theory.
It's not.
It's about putting these habits into practice.
Yes.
In our everyday lives.
Exactly. And one of the things I appreciate most about his approach is that it's not about achieving some idealized state of perfection.
Right. It's not about being perfect all the time.
No, it's about progress, not perfection.
Right. We're all a work in progress.
We are.
Always learning and growing.
Exactly. Covey emphasizes that the 7 habits are not a destination, but a journey. It's about striving to live a principle-centered life.
Right.
Day by day, moment by moment.
Okay, so it's not about beating ourselves up when we fall short.
No.
But about getting back on track.
Yes.
And continuing to move forward.
Precisely, Covey encourages us to embrace the process of growth.
Okay.
And to celebrate our progress along the way.
That's a good point. And he also reminds us that we don't have to do it alone.
Don't.
Right. We can learn from and support each other on this journey.
Exactly. Covey believes that the 7 habits are best lived in community with family, friends, colleagues, and mentors who share our commitment to personal and interpersonal effectiveness.
So it's about creating a culture of support and accountability.
It is.
Where we can encourage and challenge each other to become the best versions of ourselves.
Precisely. And when we do so, we create a ripple effect of positivity that extends outward, transforming not only our own lives, but also the lives of those around us.
This deep dive has been so transformative. I feel like I have a renewed sense of clarity and purpose,
That's great.
as well as a practical framework for creating positive change
Wonderful.
in my life and relationships.
That's wonderful to hear.
Uh,
Remember, the 7 habits are not just concepts to be understood.
right.
They're principles to be lived.
Mm-hmm.
So take what you've learned today
Okay.
and start putting it into practice.
Yeah,
Even small, consistent actions can lead to significant positive changes over time.
absolutely. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
Okay.
let's go back to habit 7
All right.
and that daily private victory you mentioned.
Okay.
That sounds like a key piece of the puzzle.
It is. Remember that analogy of the lumberjack sharpening his saw?
Yeah.
Well, the daily private victory is all about carving out time to actually do that sharpening. Covey suggests dedicating at least 1 hour each day.
Okay, 1 hour.
At least 1 hour
Wow.
to renewing ourselves across those 4 dimensions we talked about.
Right.
Physical, spiritual, mental, and social emotional.
Okay, I can already hear the objections.
I know.
I'm way too busy. Where am I going to find an extra hour?
Right.
But you're saying this is really crucial.
It is. It's about shifting from a reactive mindset
Okay.
of I'm too busy
Right.
to a proactive mindset of I make time for what matters most.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking ownership of your well-being
Right.
and making a conscious choice to prioritize it.
Okay. I'm starting to see how this ties back to habit 1.
It does.
Be proactive.
Yes.
It's about taking charge of our time and energy
Yes.
and making choices that align with our values.
You got it.
Yeah.
And here's the beautiful thing about the daily private victory.
Okay, what's that?
It creates a ripple effect.
Oh,
As we renew ourselves, we become more energized, focused, and resilient.
okay.
This, in turn, allows us to show up more fully in our interactions with others, to be more patient, understanding, and compassionate.
So it's not just about personal growth.
It's not.
It's about creating a positive impact on the world around us.
It is. It's like that Gandhi quote, be the change you want to see in the world.
Exactly. By investing in our own renewal,
Yes.
we create a ripple effect of positivity
We do.
that extends outward,
It does.
touching the lives of everyone we interact with.
Precisely. Now I know what you're thinking.
What's that?
Carving out a whole hour each day seems daunting,
It does.
but it doesn't have to be a continuous hour.
Oh, okay.
You can break it up into smaller chunks
All right.
throughout the day.
Okay, that feels more manageable. Maybe start the day with 15 minutes of meditation.
Sure.
Go for a walk during lunch.
Yeah,
Listen to a podcast on the commute home.
absolutely.
It all adds up.
Exactly. Maybe you spend 15 minutes connecting with a loved one before bed,
Mm-hmm.
or simply take a few minutes to reflect on your day
Right.
and practice gratitude.
Okay.
It's about finding those pockets of time throughout the day
Right.
and being intentional about how we use them.
So it's about creating a rhythm of renewal that works for you
Yes,
and your lifestyle.
precisely. And the more you prioritize the daily private victory,
Yeah.
the more you'll start to experience its benefits.
Okay.
You'll likely find that you have more energy, focus, and patience.
Right.
You'll feel more grounded and centered,
Mm-hmm.
even in the midst of life's challenges.
It's like we're building up our inner reserves of strength and resilience.
We are.
So we can handle whatever comes our way.
Exactly. And as we do so,
Yeah.
we're better equipped to navigate the complexities of life
Right.
and to create positive, lasting change in ourselves and the world around us.
Okay. This is all starting to click.
Oh, yeah.
But, I'm also thinking about those people who are hearing all this
Yeah.
and thinking, this sounds great in theory,
Right.
but my life is just too chaotic right now.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even imagine finding an extra hour in my day.
Okay.
What would you say to them?
I'd say that's precisely why the daily private victory is so important.
Okay.
When you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed.
That's when you need it the most.
Right.
Even just 5 or 10 minutes of focused renewal can make a huge difference.
So it's not about adding more to your plate,
No,
but about finding ways to recharge and refocus
exactly.
so you can be more effective with the time you have.
Exactly. And it's about starting small
Okay.
and building momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can't commit to a full hour right now,
Yeah.
but you can find 5 minutes to step outside
Right.
and take a few deep breaths.
Okay.
Or maybe you can swap out 10 minutes of scrolling social media
Uh-huh.
for 10 minutes of reading something inspiring.
It's about making those small conscious choices
It is.
that shift your energy and focus
Yes.
in a more positive direction.
Precisely. And as you start to experience the benefits of those small changes,
Mm-hmm.
you'll naturally want to do more.
Yeah.
It becomes a positive feedback loop.
I love that. It's like we're creating a new habit,
We are.
one small step at a time.
Exactly. And remember, Covey emphasizes that we're all works in progress.
Yeah. It's not about being perfect.
Yeah.
It's about making progress and continuously striving to be our best selves.
This has been so enlightening. I feel like I'm starting to see the interconnectedness of all 7 habits.
Yeah.
And how they work together.
They do.
To create a truly fulfilling and effective life.
That's the beauty of Covey's framework.
It is.
It's a holistic approach to personal and interpersonal growth that touches every aspect of our lives.
Okay, so we've explored all 7 habits in depth.
We have.
But before we wrap things up,
I
want to revisit the idea of the character ethic.
Right.
Which Covey emphasizes throughout the book.
Absolutely. It's the foundation upon which the entire framework rests.
Right. So it's not just about adopting these habits as techniques for success.
No.
But about developing our inner character.
Yes.
And aligning ourselves with those universal principles of integrity, fairness, and human dignity.
Exactly. Covey argues that true effectiveness and lasting happiness flow from a deep commitment to these principles. It's about being a person of character.
Right.
Not just a person who has achieved success.
Okay, so it's about walking the talk, so to speak.
Yes.
Our actions need to be congruent with our values.
Precisely. Yeah. Covey emphasizes that the character ethic is not a quick fix, but a lifelong journey of growth and development.
Yeah.
It's about striving to become the best version of ourselves, both in our personal and professional lives.
I love that. It's about recognizing that our character is constantly evolving.
It is.
And that we have the power to shape it through our choices and actions.
Exactly. Covey believes that by focusing on our character, we create a ripple effect of positivity that extends outward, influencing not only our own lives, but also the lives of those around us.
That's such a powerful reminder. It's not just about achieving personal success.
It's not.
It's about becoming a force for good in the world.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And it all starts with a commitment to those timeless principles that have guided humanity for centuries.
Okay, so we've come full circle.
We have.
We started with the character ethic.
Right.
Explored the 7 habits as practical expressions of that ethic.
Yes.
And now we're back to recognizing the importance of character.
Exactly.
As the foundation for true effectiveness and lasting happiness.
It's a beautiful, interconnected framework.
It is.
That empowers us to live more fulfilling and meaningful lives.
This deep dive has been so inspiring. I'm already feeling motivated to revisit my own habits.
That's great.
And see how I can apply Covey's principles to create positive change in my life.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Remember, even small, consistent actions can lead to significant positive changes over time.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to revisit the book itself.
No, don't be.
Each time you read it, you'll likely gain new insights.
You will.
And discover fresh applications for Covey's wisdom.
I couldn't agree more. The 7 Habits is a timeless treasure trove of insights.
It is.
For personal and professional effectiveness.
This has been such a powerful journey through the 7 habits.
It has.
It's amazing how Covey's insights remain so relevant and applicable.
They do.
Even decades after the book was first published.
Indeed, the 7 habits are timeless principles of effectiveness.
Right.
That transcend any particular era or circumstance.
So as we wrap up part 2 of our deep dive, let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
And talk about how these habits show up in the real world.
Okay.
We've talked about the theory.
We have.
But I'm curious to hear some real-life examples of how people are actually applying these principles in their lives.
That's a great idea. I think it would be helpful to ground this conversation in some concrete examples.
Okay.
Why don't we pick up there in part 3?
Sounds like a plan. See you soon for the final chapter of our 7 Habits deep dive. Okay, we're back. For the final part of our deep dive into Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, we've talked about the theory, explored the habits, but now I'm really curious to hear how this all plays out in real life, you know?
Yeah, it's one thing to read about these habits, but it's another thing entirely to see them in action.
Exactly.
So let's bring this conversation to life with some real-world examples.
Perfect. Because sometimes I think, okay, this all sounds great, but does it actually work?
Right.
So hit me with some stories.
All right, let's start with habit 1. Be proactive. I was working with a client who was constantly feeling overwhelmed by her workload. She felt like she was always putting out fires, never had any time for her own priorities.
Right.
We started talking about the circle of influence, and she realized that while she couldn't control the demands of her job, she could control how she managed her time and energy.
So what did she do?
She started by blocking off time in her calendar for her most important tasks.
Mm-hmm.
And she became much more assertive about setting boundaries with colleagues and clients.
Right.
She also started delegating more effectively.
That's great.
It wasn't a quick fix.
Yeah.
But gradually, she started to feel more in control of her work and her life.
That's awesome. It shows how even small proactive changes can have a big impact.
They can.
What about habit 2? Begin with the end in mind.
Okay.
Any inspiring stories there?
I think about a friend of mine
Okay.
who was feeling really unfulfilled in his career.
Mm-hmm.
He was making good money,
Yeah.
but he felt like he wasn't making a difference.
Okay.
He spent some time reflecting on his values
Okay.
and what he truly wanted to accomplish in his life.
Mm-hmm.
He realized that his passion was helping others.
Okay.
So he decided to go back to school
Wow.
and become a therapist.
Wow, that's a big shift. But it sounds like it was worth it.
He told me it was the best decision he ever made.
That's great.
He's now doing work that he finds incredibly meaningful,
Mm-hmm.
and he feels like he's living a life that's truly aligned with his purpose.
That's so inspiring. It's a good reminder that it's never too late to course correct and pursue what truly matters to us. Okay, what about habit 3?
Habit 3.
Put first things first.
You know, this one really hit home for me when I became a parent.
Okay.
Suddenly, my time felt even more precious,
Right.
and I had to be very intentional about how I spent it.
Yeah.
The time management matrix became my best friend.
Uh-huh.
I started scheduling time for family activities in quadrant 2.
Okay.
Those important but not urgent activities.
Right.
And I made a conscious effort to delegate or eliminate tasks
Okay.
that were in quadrants 3 and 4.
Right.
It wasn't always easy,
Yeah.
but it helped me stay focused on my priorities.
That's a great example of how these habits can apply to all different areas of our lives.
It can.
Okay. Let's move on to the habits of interdependence.
Okay.
Any win-win stories to share?
I think about a negotiation I was involved in
Okay.
where both parties were initially very adversarial.
Huh.
Each side was focused on getting the best deal for themselves.
Right.
And there was a lot of tension in the room. But we decided to step back
Okay.
and try to understand each other's underlying interests and concerns.
Okay.
We spent a lot of time listening and asking questions,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually we were able to find a solution
Okay.
that met everyone's needs.
So it sounds like the key was shifting from a me versus you mentality
It was
to a we mentality.
exactly. And it wasn't easy.
Right.
It took patience, empathy, and a willingness to compromise.
Yeah.
But in the end, we created a win-win outcome
Okay.
that strengthened the relationship between the two parties.
Okay, what about habit 5? Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Yes,
I feel like this one is crucial for building strong relationships,
it is.
both personally and professionally.
Absolutely. I've seen this habit in action countless times in my work as a therapist.
Oh, wow.
When couples come to me for counseling,
Uh-huh.
they're often caught in a cycle of misunderstanding and blame.
Right?
They're each trying to get their own point across
Yeah.
without really listening to the other person's perspective.
Right.
But when they start practicing empathic listening,
Yeah.
something amazing happens.
What do you see happening?
The walls start to come down.
Okay.
They begin to see each other as human beings
Mhm.
with valid feelings and needs.
Right.
And once that understanding is established,
Yeah.
they can start to work together to find solutions to their problems.
It's like they're finally speaking the same language.
Exactly. And that shared understanding is the foundation for any healthy relationship.
Okay, what about synergy? Any stories that illustrate the power of habit 6?
I think about a team I was working with
Okay.
that was tasked with developing a new product.
Right.
Initially, there were a lot of different opinions and ideas, and it felt like they were getting nowhere.
Right.
But they decided to embrace those differences and see them as assets.
Okay.
They started brainstorming together,
Mhm.
building on each other's ideas.
Right.
And eventually, they came up with a truly innovative product
Wow.
that exceeded everyone's expectations.
It's like the whole became greater than the sum of its parts.
Exactly. That's the magic of synergy.
Okay, one last habit. Sharpen the saw. Any inspiring stories about people who are making this habit a priority in their lives?
I think of a woman I know
Okay.
who is a busy executive and a mother of 3.
Mm-hmm.
She could easily justify letting self-care fall by the wayside.
Oh, yeah.
But she knows that if she doesn't take care of herself,
Right.
she won't be able to show up fully for her family or her work.
Mm.
So she makes it a priority to exercise regularly,
Okay.
meditate, and connect with friends.
Right.
She also makes sure to schedule in some downtime just for herself.
Okay.
Reading a book, taking a bath, whatever helps her recharge.
That's a great example of how we can weave these habits into even the busiest of lives.
We can.
And it's not selfish.
It's not.
It's about recognizing that taking care of ourselves is essential.
It is.
For our well-being and our effectiveness.
Right. It's like putting on your own oxygen mask first.
Exactly.
Before helping others.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the 7 habits,
yeah,
I want to leave you with this thought.
Okay.
These habits are not just abstract concepts.
No, they're not.
They're tools that you can use to create positive change in your life.
Yeah.
Starting today.
That's a great point. It's
Yeah.
about taking this knowledge and putting it into action.
Exactly. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
It is.
Be patient with yourself.
Be patient.
Celebrate your progress.
Celebrate.
And keep striving to become the best version of yourself.
Beautifully said. This has been such an inspiring conversation. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It has been.
Into the 7 habits of highly effective people.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep learning,
And
keep growing.
Keep growing.
And keep sharpening those saws.
Yes, keep sharpening those saws.